Well, oh, hello, and welcome back. I'm AJ O'Neill. This is Beyond Code Live, and we're going to continue with the GitHub sign-in integration into the Auth project. And I went running this morning for the first time in too long because I had a chest cold, and then, I don't know, I was lazy or something and wasn't waking up in the morning. Anyway, so my voice is still a little from all the coughing, or my throat rather. I think my voice sounds fine. Anyway, we'll just jump right into it. With the idea of red-green refactor, we're now into the refactor stage. So the first thing we did was decide what we want to do, and it obviously wasn't there. That was the red's kind of the planning stage. Green is, we kind of had two green stages. One green stage was we took the GitHub auth in isolation and just got it working in a tiny test project that ended up being 20 lines of code. It was amazing. And then we went to integrate it into the Auth 3000, tentatively named, project. And now it's time to clean that up a little bit so it feels a little bit more natural and less hacky. Because I just put it in there in a way to see, okay, can we get it working in the place where it's supposed to go? And then we've got some to-dos here. So I'm going to go ahead and try to turn some of these to-dos into to-dones, or kind of get this ready to be integrated. And one of the problems that I have here is that, oh, and by the way, I've got the chat open both on YouTube and Twitch, and when I'm looking this way, that's because I'm looking at the chat. So one of the problems here, oh, and I got a haircut. I'm still the same me. I just, a lot shorter hair, much shorter hair. Right, where was I at then? I want to make this feel as natural as possible, but currently I only have GitHub as part of what is necessary, what the only OAuth2 non-OIDC, because again, OIDC is pretty much set it and forget it. All the options are specified. You know what you're going to get. OAuth2, nothing's actually specified. OAuth2 basically just means there's some sort of redirect involved in some sort of authentication process, and the details are up to the implementation. OIDC is specifically, these are the endpoints, these are the things that you're going to have to send, this is what you're going to get back, and there's the ability to have some custom extensions, but it's pretty well thought out. Anyway, so I've got to figure out what this thing is actually supposed to look like. And I think the options that need to be here, I think it ought to be github.com. So let's say we've got ops.oauth2, or maybe we don't have ops.oauth2, but let's say if not ops.oauth2, no, I guess this should just, at this point, it's fine to say you're only going to call OAuth2 once, and we're just going to replace, these are OAuth ops. Let me go see how I did OIDC. Here we go. OIDC, that looks a little bit incorrect. Oh, okay. Object.assign. Yeah, let's just copy this line. I think this will be fine. We'll do this, and that'll be a good start. And I'll have to document what goes in there. But I think I have an alright idea, and we're going to change this to OAuth2. Because OAuth 1, OAuth 1A, OAuth 2, and OIDC are all different. If people update to use the standard format, then OAuth 2 is OIDC is OAuth 2, but OAuth 2 is not OIDC. That's the way to say it. Anyway. I guess this makes good sense. So maybe I should just move where I have the GitHub stuff currently. Sorry about that. Nope, that's not right. This right here. This right here. I think I should just take this whole bit, really GitHub stuff, and I should move it out at the same level that the Google sign-in stuff is. So let's go ahead and do that. And then this should not be a GitHub client secret type of deal. That should move. So I'm going to go into, let me get out of here real quick. I'm kind of going about this the wrong way. I'm looking at the final implementation and trying to think backwards. Instead, I should think about the documentation and how the user interacts with this and think forwards, which I was kind of doing a little bit of both because I'd already been thinking about this between the last time I was streaming and now. But let's go ahead and look at it from this perspective. Nope, that's not where the setup is, I don't think. Or is the setup there? Let me go check. Let me go to the end of this file. Is this where we set up OIDC? This is indeed where we set up OIDC. So this should also be where we set up OAuth2. And I think I actually would like to allow multiple. And we're going to have github.com. Really, this should be accounts.google.com. If we're doing true blue OIDC, that's what it should be. And I think I'm going to make an alias for a couple of these things so that you can specify Google, but it'll alias to accounts.google.com. And likewise, maybe you can specify GitHub, but it'll alias. I don't really like aliases that much, but we'll see. So here again, we will have a client ID and a client secret. And I have to think, I don't think we need to specify the redirect URI for what we're doing here. But we do need to change this to GitHub client ID. So that looks right to me now. Yep. Looks good. So now I'm going to go back over here and see what we can do. We don't need this wrapper anymore. Let me go ahead and get rid of that down here. By the way, the % is what allows you to traverse between matching brackets in Vim, for those of you that are interested in learning that. And let me just see here. Oh, hello, I see somebody joined in. Welcome. Feel free to tell me where you're from, what you're doing, what your interest is in Node or GitHub sign-in or whatever, and ask any questions that you have. Even if they're a little off topic, I will take note of them, and then if I can't answer them right away because I'm busy, in the vein of what I'm working on, I'll circle back around to it when I had a good mental break pause point. Okay, so with this, let's do it like this. ops.oauth2, no, auths gh equals, and we'll set it up this way. The one thing I don't like about this approach is the subscripting, but either of these look appropriate. I think I want this one to go first because this is the one I prefer to be exact. And the truth of the matter is that it's not GitHub. It is github.com. Same thing. It is not Google. It is accounts.google.com that is the site, that is the authorization site, because that matters in some cases. Okay. So we're going to do gh.client ID. I really don't like the pattern that some modules use of expecting you to have global environment variables defined. I think that one, it makes it such that your setup is a singleton. Now, in this case, the setup is a singleton. If I wanted to make this a not singleton, there's something that I would have to change about it. I would be open to that if the use case arose. If there was some need to have 2 instances of GitHub sign-in or 2 instances, well, I guess you shouldn't really need 2 instances. You would just need a way to pass the options in differently. In any case, I'd be open to that, but I guess it would be appropriate. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to have process.env.github client ID here. But I prefer to be explicit over implicit. I like to be able to know the flow of things, where they ended up. If it's you never pass in a configuration for it and it ends up working anyway, that just feels like magic, and I don't like magic. So, okay, so this looks right. So what about that by OIDC one? Where was that at? It's all in here too. Yeah, so I think the OAuth2 bit is right at home, right above this, as it were. Yeah. So what I should put in here, though, is there actually should still be a dot client secret. It's kind of funny to me that they need both a client ID and a client secret. It seems like it should either need one or the other, but not both. Client ID for public things, client secret for non-public things. I like the general pattern of the ID being a derivative of the secret. So you use some sort of salt and then hash the secret to get the ID. And then the server can always tell from any given secret what the ID ought to be. But I guess that doesn't work if you want to rotate secrets. So, and it also, yeah, if you're looking up a secret directly in a database, you're vulnerable to timing attacks because the database is going to do most likely an unsafe comparison that reveals the timing of how long it takes to iterate through the secret. So you have to look it up by the ID and then do a secure compare on the secret separately. So I guess that makes sense. Anyway, what are we at here? Let's take this whole thing. Yeah. And really, I feel that this ought to be its own separate bit. Let's see, what all do we need to be aware of here? We need the full options. What does Google need? Does Google need? I'm wondering. I'm going to try this out and just see. I think in this particular case it'll work just fine. Let's see how that works out. I think it'll work out just fine. So from here, we're going to make lib OAuth2 github.com. Lib OAuth2 github.com index.js. And then we just spit all of that into there. And we're going to need to pass in the options. So module.exports equals function ops. Now let's say we also need GH. Any problems with this? We need app. Excuse me. We need app as well. So let's say app GH ops. I guess we could do this reverses. I don't want to pull that out into github.com. I think I do. In truth, I think I do. So I wonder also if we shouldn't restructure this. Maybe it should be OAuth2/webhooks. I don't know. It's good enough. It doesn't break anything. It's an internal implementation detail. Okay, so we also need the issuer. Is the issuer part of the ops? Let's go take a look at that real quick. So issuer comes in up here, we assign issuer to ish. Does issuer become part of ops? Because it seems that it should. I don't know why it wouldn't. Because this was more just a convenience bit. Let's see. Yeah, I don't expect you to be able to overwrite issuer. So let's take a look. Found all the places where issuer is used. Let's look for all the places where ish is used. Okay. Would it be appropriate to put ops here instead? Ops.issuer. I think it would be. And probably the same is true here. I don't really want to change these. Maybe I would just put a to-do by them. Let's see, verify session, yeah. I think that's appropriate. I don't think I'm shadowing the ish variable anywhere. But there's different issuers, so some of them are like there's the issuer, not like, I need to stop saying like. There's the issuer that is the self, the application that one is developing when one is using this. And then there are the issuers that are, for example, Google and GitHub. And I need to make sure I'm not putting any of those in the wrong place. And then that would be correct. I think this actually technically, I didn't really decide on which one that ought to be. So again, aliases of one another, not always the right thing to do, but the right thing to do in that particular case for now, until I'm decided on whether, because I prefer issuer is more explicit, it's more clear than ish, although ish might actually be more Googleable. Ish is specified as the issuer. Bless me. So at this point, this should be unused. Yeah, so if we got rid of this, shouldn't cause any problems. Do I not have unused in my JS-HintRC here? I do not. Let's go ahead and put unused. Uh-oh. Crypto is defined but never used. Sure, we can get rid of that. What else? What other things did we uncover here? Verify GitHub token is defined but never used. Yep, we can move that on out. What does this depend on? Whoops. Doesn't look like it depends on anything. So let's go ahead and just move that out. I definitely am in agreement. Somebody had made a comment that the Google and the GitHub stuff doesn't belong in the main lib, and I agree with that. It really doesn't. Okay, let's go fetch errors. There we go. What else? What else is missing? Okay, so let's do ops.issuer. That should solve that problem. And token is defined but never used. Really? Yeah, that's true. Because it's used by virtue of the toString here. Yeah, and I'm not sure what to do about this to do yet. Because it's possible that you could have a different front end. This really needs to be the GitHub auth URL or the login URL. So I have to think about what that ought to mean. So we'll do this. Redirect URL should be gh.redirect URI or gh.redirect URL or ops.issuer. And again, aliasing URI and URL just because it's something that's so easy to get wrong and just would be so obnoxious. I should probably pick one and stick with it. But this is not the GitHub redirect URL. This is the after the GitHub redirect URL. So I'm not sure what that should be called. I'm going to have to think on that. Because in the case of the Google login, you land back wherever you started. In this case, I don't know. Let's call it next URL. I think that's a better thing to call it. I don't know. Finish URL, complete URL, done URL, token URL. I don't know what to call it. To do. Yeah. Because this could be something highly specific to the GitHub login, not generic as the way we're currently building out the demo. Finalize URL, finish URL, login URL. I don't know. I don't know what to call it, so we're just going to go with that for now. I'll discuss it and see if something else pops up. All right, so that looks right. Do we have more problems here? Yeah, we do. We're missing get claims. What else are we missing? Okay, so let's go ahead and expand this out. And we're going to do, what is it, grant claims. And grant tokens and cookie. There, kind of in no particular order, and let's just call this underscore GH. And then I'll do that here. And here. All right, get claims. What did we not define about that? Oh, not grant claims, get claims. Got it. Okay. Now, part of me does want to return these functions. Verify GitHub token. There's not really too much unique about that. So part of me does want to return these functions so that the routing is more visible at the top layer. Let me think about that for a second. And is there actually any reason that couldn't be generic? This maybe could be generic. I don't notice any here. Well, Let's call that by GitHub OAuth2. Because there is a bit of this that isn't generic. We don't know, well, I'm trying to imagine that this is going to be standardized around email issuer ID, profile. But the truth is, I don't really know. So, we'll see. So for the time being, I'm going to leave the app down in here. This is an implementation detail. This is not something a user needs to be aware of. So for the time being, I am going to leave the app there. Okay. Now, where did my github.com go? And then what do we have? We had app, and then git claims. We have GH. We have grant tokens, and was it grant tokens and cookie? I feel like we had a few other things, maybe ops. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that looks correct. Let's go over here and then count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we have everything. I'm satisfied with that. I'll just call that underscore, and then I can do this little doodad. Again, implicit over explicit, I don't really. We'll see, we'll see. To do. Pick one. And then let's go do the same thing with Google real quick. Let's say did I do this right? I did not do this right. I did this wrongo bongo. There we go. So the way that that actually should be done here. Okay, no, that works. I'll take it. Now we shouldn't have to worry about that question mark on that one. And then we could do like this. Accounts.google.com. That's the correct name for it. And then we could just check Goog. Client ID. I mean, technically, we just pass through each of them. I don't know what the best way to go about this would be. I'll think about it. I'll think through it. I think what it should be is that we iterate over whatever's in the object, and then we look for a file by that name, and then require it. That might be a little too dynamic. This might be a better way to go, but there might also be a way to auto-generate the code so that the code is based off of it being fairly dynamic. I'm thinking too far ahead. I don't need to worry about that right now. So OIDC accounts.google.com, that is the appropriate way to do this. And then we'll pass in about the same thing. We'll pass in app, ops, get claims, grant tokens, and cookie. And we don't need to pass in the goog in this case. All right, let me go do that. And then I've got some other stuff to do, apparently. So lib OIDC accounts.google.com. Deal. Vim lib OIDC accounts.google.com. Whoops. Index.js. Module.exports equals function. And then we need to, the function should accept app, ops, get claims, grant tokens, and cookie. It should be all good. And then we've got our little verify function that we need to go check out. The problem with that is, let's go ahead and get rid of all that first. We may restructure this later. This may not be the right way to go about it, but we'll find that out in time. And we're not doing anything too crazy here. Verify Google token. Yeah, I want to get rid of that. That means I need to pass in verify OIDC token. Which is fine. Right? Yep. And so all of this may be created like so. Var e equals require lib errors.js, if I'm not mistaken. Verify OIDC token is something that we need to get from here. Little dependency injection. I'm not a big fan of dependency injection, but it's the appropriate thing to use sometimes. Let's see. Also, I found a solution to another problem. So I should be able to do node extra CA certs to define a path to additional certs. Not quite sure how this works. Oh, interesting. Session.middleware. OAuth2 is not a function. Where's that happening? Line 155? 155. Of what? Line 155 of what? Okay. Oh, we haven't copied this over yet. Let's go ahead and copy this over. And then that should cause that to restart. And we get a module not found OIDC accounts.google.com index.js. Oh, and we don't have a lib errors. That might be actually what the problem was. Okay. So I've got half a mind to use base tag at this point. Well, no, because this project is going to be exported, so it just needs to be let's see, where are we at? We're down 2 layers, so if we go up 2 layers, then we should be in the right place for this. Okay. And at some point, we could move these GitHub and Google sign-in out somewhere else. Okay, it looks like that's working now. And I much more like kind of the interface around this. Let me see where we've got Google. Let me see about that. Is there anything else where I specify Google? There's a few places. So I want to change that to be accounts.google.com, which is the real, true, appropriate name. I wonder why that is not working. By working, I mean it didn't prettify it the same way that everything else got prettified. Is there a syntax error here? Doesn't look like it. I don't see it. I got prettified just fine. Oh, there it goes. So there must be a syntax error here somewhere. Ah, there it is. I found it. Let's go back to the way that this looked like before. Yeah, there we go. All right. Cool beans. So are there any other places where there is a... So it says google.com. This should be accounts.google.com. Yeah, so I'm going to clean that up. I'm not going to require this until V1 is when all the stuff that I'm working through and figuring out what needs to be deprecated and whatnot. That's when I'll do the big update on it. Okay, session.star Google. Not in here because I moved it out. Right. Okay. So let's go out to here. And this really should be accounts.google.com. Deprecated. And it makes sense for that to be under session, but it also makes sense for it to be on its own. We'll see. We shall see. And then I need to make sure out of this, let Google is equal to ops.oidc, and then it should be accounts dot, whoops. And then we get rid of these. Yeah. That looks good. We shouldn't need that because if we get to the point where we are coming into this, then that should already be defined. So we don't need to check for its optionality. Whatever the cool kids are calling it these days. All right. Only token signed by Google. expected issuer, such as and it looks like this comment was supposed to move down here with this. Oh, and this was a failsafe. I guess for older versions of key fetch, not key pairs, key fetch. Yeah, originally, when I wrote the key fetch library, I wrote it for peer-to-peer authentication. And so all issuers were allowed by default, which turned out to be something that should have been opt-in. So I fixed that in a later version of the library. Okay, we still don't have a way to specify these things, which we should have a way to specify them. Well, maybe we do. Okay, there's something that we didn't have specified yet. We need a way to pass options for, but I won't worry about that right now because that's not the problem at hand. The problem at hand is what is this? Is this the big full example? Here's the basic boilerplate. Auth2, github.com, client ID, client secret. Where are we at here? Okay, this is actually incorrect. Because verify, typically we want to be using with, yeah, you can, you could just say all I want to allow is Google, and Google's going to be the issuer, and we're going to use Google tokens. I think that's when I originally wrote this documentation. It was at that point where it only is just if you had a Google token, you were good to go. And that's a valid way to do it, actually. But that doesn't make sense with the current implementation. Okay, so should put a change log or something in here. I don't know if it needs to be an MD. Maybe just make it good old-fashioned TXT file. What are we at? So this is going to be v13.2 when it hits. So deprecate google.com in favor of accounts.google.com. and favorite accounts.com, which is the correct, oops, OIDC name. Add OAuth2 support specifically for github.com. What else do we do in this? I think that's pretty much what we did. Let me look at the log here. Oh, bug fix. Updates, what is it, env.tpl.js with correct something or other. I should probably find a tool that, if you know of a tool that auto-generates these things, I know they're out there. Tell me about it. If you use one, tell me about it. Use correct path, okay. All right, that was both too specific and too not specific. Let me change that. There we go. Let's see. Update all the lib. Refactor. Move Google and GitHub to own files. Let's see. Finish GitHub integration, and move Google and GitHub to own files. Yeah, there we go. That's correct. All right, and then changelog. Sure. Add and update changelog. Okay, what else we got going on? I think I need to rebase back here. I was going to drop that or fold it into the previous. So I'll go ahead and do that now. And it's about time for me to wrap up and go get something to eat. So, good time, good deal all around. And I'm pretty sure there is nothing that is here. Okay, that was the two that are different. Yeah, okay. So we're going to do GitHub push, or git push -f origin GitHub. And then let's go ahead and sync that over. And then we should give it a little test. So we should be able to see, first of all, let's make sure we didn't break anything with Google. Everything that was working should still work. All right, cool. Got the token. Sweet. Oh, and I did want to, there was a little bug fix that I wanted to change here, which would be, let's wrap all of this social login. Yeah, let's wrap all of this social login with a thing. I don't know what to call it. I guess it needs to be a span. And then class is equal to JS social login. So we want to hide all of this or none of it, I think, typically. So let me go get at that. Log out, hidden, true. Yeah, I don't think we want to hide those things individually. Okay. Let's go check this out. Oh, and let me see if I don't want to deal with this because we are getting this error because of the local host SSL certificate that Node isn't savvy to understand about. But I don't really want to fix it right now. So even though the sign-in completes successfully, it looks as though it doesn't. Oh, GitHub. Can't get it. All right, let's go back on that. And this would be, I think, in main.js as well. Let's look for /GitHub. Huh, that's weird. Well, that looks correct. Redirect URI. Probably did not update that. And let me go. We can update this here, but I need to update it somewhere else as well. There we go. So let me go update it elsewheres if I can find the elsewheres. Is it over here? Maybe. Which means that we need to rebuild npm run. There we go. And then let's rsync everything over again. And then refresh. Now let's see if the GitHub sign-in works now. No, still doesn't. Why would it not work at this point? All right, let's see what we got. So it looks right. I don't really want to get this stuff from Node modules. Yeah, that ended up being dumb. I just get a bunch of stupid stuff. But let's see. This should give us the .env as well. I guess that doesn't matter. We can just go check. All right, this was generated. It wrote it to public JS env. And we can see here that this is correct. Now let's just take a look at that URL. Oops, I already got rid of it. It's supposed to go to webhooks. So something's up. Let's open up the console here and make sure that the cache is cleared. Always blame it on the cache, right? But I think that's fair. Oh, interesting. That's unexpected. That seems wrong. What's going on here? Oh, I think I know what's going on wrong there, and that does look like that was indeed a cache problem. So now these should not be hidden by default, but rather this should be hidden by default. So let's see if we refresh and we get that change. And we do. So now if I hit GitHub, it goes back, gets the GitHub state, social login. Should be showing log out now. I'm not sure why it's not showing log out. Did I wrap something incorrectly? What do we get in the console here? Why is it not showing log out? Let's go back and take a look at that for a second, and then I'm done. I need to go get some breakfast and get ready for work. Finish getting ready for work. I'm mostly ready for work. All right, hidden. Hidden is false if it can do stuff with user. All right, so I'm a little bit confused. We did not put, yeah, so the logout button is in its own special place. So if we get congrats got a token, should be all good there. But I think the reason that we're getting this is because it redirected and I don't think it finished its final bit. Let's see. So why is it showing issuer and state in there? Because it should. It should show the issuer and the state in there. That's why it's showing it. Okay, so let's just take a look at the JavaScript one more time, see if I can figure this out. If not, it'll just be a whip. Do we have a do stuff with user? We do. Our bespoke tokens. Are we getting there? Complete OAuth2 sign in. All right, so we're not at that point. All right, I'm a little confused. I'm going to have to take a look at this later. So we're not quite done. We're almost there. We're not quite done. But I'm going to have to take a peek at this later. Let me just try just really quick. Okay, that looks correct. Refresh token, okay. So that's what I expect because of the SSL error. I expect that. Now this one, it did all the redirects and it got to the point where it prints out access token. So let's take a look at that. It gets to the point where it prints out access token, but the issuer is not set. So let's take a look at that just real quick. I think I'd put that under the OAuth GitHub, blah, blah, blah. And let's see, is this where I was setting issuer in the search params? I was setting issuer in the search params here. And state. And it should be, let's see that. I guess I should have access token and bearer as well. This should be Ah, should be hash params. Except we don't have such a thing as hash params. So we would do like this, right? Well, I guess and. Yeah, that's our problem, is that we don't have no hash params. So, and state equals, okay, so we will do it like that. So that's either going to be a token or an error that's in that. That's all good. Yeah, that looks right. Okay. Copy that over. Wait 2 seconds. Let's get rid of this stuff here. Do the GitHub sign in. And then boom. Congrats. You win a token. Got it. All right, sweet. So figured it out. Everything's good. I'm ready. So that was all good. That's just a fix up. And then we can add public. And then this is, I don't know, kind of refactor show or hide social logins. All social logins. And then let's just go ahead and bump that here and push force GitHub. All right, so I think that's ready to merge. We'll check and see what we got to do later. But yeah, I think that's good to go. So I think our next bit will be setting up a project for this for the blog project so that we can sync it. We want to be able to sync drafts. And so the whole point of this was we need authentication so that we can identify a user, so that we can sync drafts. And since the blog project is primarily going to be used with GitHub, or that's the way that it's intended right now, it makes sense for that login to be through GitHub. Anyway, with that all said, I hope you enjoyed this. If you had an aha moment, if you learned something, go ahead and give it a big fat thumbs up. If you like what you like, you get more of what you like. And if you would like to subscribe, just make sure to hit the notification bell for personalized recommendations so that you get my code stuff, which is about 90 to 95% of what I do. But I also do a little bit of other stuff here and there, electronics, gaming, etc. Anyway, so a lot. You have the best morning ever. Adios.